years that I've worked, Bonnie and Andy has been serving us faithfully and have never not shown up. So there must be something wrong. So before we start our sermon today, let's pray for Bonnie and Andy. What's going on in their life?
Thank you.
Dear God, please be with Bonnie and Andy, whatever's going on, that they may get through it successfully, and then all will be well. Amen.
Larry, do they have a phone?
I don't.
I have.
I don't have their phone number either. Anyways, this is, like I said, the first time in 10 years. This has never happened. So. Do you remember the movie? I just had this stuck in there because this is these things. I'm going to use this sometime for a lesson, but it's actually will make a wonderful talk today. And something I've been thinking about for years. And so I'm going to impart some information to you that I hope will be useful. Do you remember the movie, The Secret? It was popular years ago. Do you remember that part in there when this lady who was what's that word? It means you make your house, you set up your house so its energy is right.
Feng shui.
There you go. One of those or something like that. And she walks in and she goes, she's looking around and she goes, "So how's your love life?" "Well, he's a good looking guy. He's a good looking guy. You getting plenty of dates or what's going on?" He goes, "Well, no. And are you kidding? You are working like in the in Hollywood. You're working with the stars all the time. All those gorgeous women there that are stars, and you can't get a date with one of them. You should do this." He goes, "Well, it just isn't happening." So he says, "Well, you want it to happen. I'll tell you what you're doing wrong." He was a painter part of the time, and I think he dealt with props, so that's why he was a painter. He helped them set up the scenes and stuff for the sets. But she looked around the room and he'd been painting paintings, and all the paintings on the wall were of women that were looking over their shoulder at him like, "You're not quite good enough." Paid a deal. I do that good. That's not my normal persona. But anyways, this look like they're just looking at him slightly askew, like, "Well, I might look your way. I might say hello, but no dates, no way." And so this is getting a subconscious message, and he wasn't getting dates. So she says, "Take these paintings down. Sell them to someone you don't like." No, sell them or whatever. Make more paintings of you going on dates, you being with beautiful women. And so he did. He painted a half a dozen pictures, hung them around there. So you come back 6 months later and talk to him. And, wow, I get about 3 dates a week. This is really amazing. You remember this? It's all coming back to you that saw this movie. And then she goes, "Well, now what do you want?" "Well, I really would like a more serious relationship. I like to be married." "What am I going to say?" "Paint." And so he paints, and sure enough, within a few months, he's engaged. And what is it? You're suggesting things to the mind. And one way to do that is the paintings that you have hanging on your wall. Now, there's this fellow named Victor Bach, and he wrote the most wonderful book. It's so wonderful, I don't remember the name of it. And you think, "Oh yeah, oh my goodness." No, the name of the book is "How to Solve All Your Money Problems Forever." Now, he did a lot of books around, and this was written by a fellow in the 1930s that was a New Thought writer, actually. And his book is about money, but it has nothing to do with money. That's just a little thing. It has to do with the law of attraction. He just thought possibly it would sell more copies if he made a title like this, and I'm sure it did. So he says some things you can do to make your affirmations more effective. Upon waking, within 15 minutes, repeat your affirmations. Okay? Then during the day, sometime during the day, write them all down, maybe 10 times each, or just pick on one of them, and rotate through them. Write them down. The physical act of writing and looking and saying them out loud, all these things strengthen this stuff. I used to use a calligraphy pen quite a bit, and I would write everything down. Can I tell you some of my affirmations? This happened years ago before this is even in anyone else's head. First one, I want to be a public speaker. I want to be a musician, professional. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a minister. I wrote all these things down years ago, over a decade ago, and wrote them with my calligraphy pen. And look what I'm doing: teaching, speaking, minister, musician. And these things come to pass. So another thing you do is at the end of the day, you do the same thing. Within just before you go to sleep, say the affirmations. He says that this really, really, really works. So I remember I had this costume that I wore last Halloween, and maybe the year before too, or it was this cap that you put spread on your head like this, and it had little spikes going out everywhere, and it looked like really freaky, and it looked like the virus. So I dressed up as the COVID virus. And I thought, that's probably not a real great positive message to give me or everyone else. But I really enjoy doing it, and that's something if you know me very well, I enjoy doing things that are maybe slightly disturbing to most people. So here's the thing. I read a book years ago which I loved, and I studied, and I follow all the stuff it said. It's called Concept Therapy, and it was written made by Dr. Fleet in Texas. Hey, Texas. You heard of Concept Therapy in Texas? It's a big state. This is as big as all the other states put together. That's what they say, anyways. He says in there that in order to get something to happen in your life, you've got to get it into your subconscious mind. And there's one way you can do that. It's fail-proof. Focus on that thing that you want and remain focused on it for 33 1/3 seconds. Why he said that? We just rounded it up to a minute. It's the hardest thing in the world. You try focusing on just one thing and not letting your mind wander for a whole minute. But if you can do that, that thing is set in your subconscious mind, and it's going to come true. We used to pray as a family like this, and we would go silent for a minute, and everyone would focus on the thing that as a family we wanted to happen. And we were all sitting in my room, because that's where the sideboard is, an 1800 sideboard made of walnut with the big beveled glass and the pillars carved, and it's really pretty. And we have on there a couple of swan ceramic thing. There's 2 swans, and their necks are entwined. It's called the love swans. And it's open there, so you can put things in like flowers or junk. We put junk, marbles, paper clips, not flowers. What do we do that for? Anyways, this was our family altar at that time, because most of us were into paganism at that moment, and it's kind of fun. And studying that, every Halloween we'd have the harvest. It would be a Thanksgiving meal, but it'd be on Halloween night, and it would be the harvest meal for that day. And we go out in the yard with a shovel and dig a hole and bury all of our shortcomings in there, like a grave with an old lantern. We were dressed in 1800s. So anyways, we liked the pagan stuff. It was a lot of fun. And so the swans in their tradition, swans are the animals that can fly and fly into the spiritual realm. And so they're a communicator, a mediator between us and the spiritual realm. If you want something to be brought into the spiritual realm, you gave it to the swan, and the swan would fall in. So it would fly there and bring it. And kind of like their version of the Holy Ghost, okay, the swan. And so our love swans, Susie, my daughter, this one particular time, wrote everything on there, what we wanted, and dropped it in the swan. And the idea is that, of course, they would never come alive when we're watching. It's like dolls. They don't move when you watch them. But at night, when everyone is asleep, the swan would come alive and fly into the mirror that's right there in the sideboard, like a portal, and fly into the spirit world and deliver our request. So we did this, and we did the 1 minute focusing on it, and then everyone said a prayer going around. And it was because this particular person was giving us hell. That was the leader in our church. And we said we needed to not do that anymore, and we were just being nice about it. But 2 weeks later, he got a job offer he could not resist, and he moved out of state. Boom. Now, that's interesting that you can control, like he was like the big shot, guy in charge of all of Roseburg. Big, anyways, and here we can list him. With our prayer, is that possible? Can you even influence things that seem so much bigger than you? Can you influence them with your prayers? I think so. Now, concept therapy. They have a word to say about our mind. Our subconscious, our conscious mind, and our superconscious mind. Parts. And they say that there's 3 types of mind. There's 2 types. There's originative and executive. An originative mind is one that can think up an idea. And I'm going to do this. We have one of those, don't we? We call her a logical mind. We're blessed with that. I'm so glad I'm not my cat. She definitely doesn't have one of those. The things she does, that's just obviously just instincts falling into place somehow. So your subconscious mind is an executive, the other type. Executive means you execute what you're told and you have no way of figuring out why or when or what you should do. That's executive. So originative, executive. The subconscious mind is executive only. It can only follow orders. If you put an order in there and it gets into the subconscious, it's going to do it without arguing with you. Problem with getting in there is what we've been talking about. Your conscious mind is obviously originative, but it's also executive. In what way? It will do, on some level, it will do what it's told. If it's told so by the superconscious. That's a word Charles Filmer calls, in his books, he calls God the superconscious mind in many, many places. Just another way of saying it. They were trying to be so scientific back in the 1880s, and early 1900s. And this is where this came to, in that same time period where everything had to be scientific. So, but I find it interesting that we are, our conscious mind, we're originative, we come up with ideas, but we're also receptive to following orders. And how receptive are we? Can we do that? Can we let go? Can we release our need to be in control? That mainly that means shutting down the logical mind, and that's what meditation is for. You shut down the logical mind, shut down everything, and you let that subconscious, or that superconscious, or God, or however you want to word this, come down and give you instructions. And why do you want that? Well, your life just goes so much smoother if you do this. I wish my son would listen to me. I wish he had an executive mind. He does not even a stitch. He doesn't have an executive mind. But there's this thing I used to do called EFT, emotional freedom technique. Never remember what that stands for. They say in EFT that you have a forest. Just pretend the forest is in your mind, and the forest represents all of the emotional problems that are in your mind. And oh my goodness, we all have these things, And so EFT, well, you focus on one, say, even though I'm afraid of heights, and you do EFT, and pretty soon you're not afraid of heights or swimming, or even for cigarettes. Although it's more difficult with cigarettes because that's anything that's chronic, it's harder to get through the subconscious because it's saying we're not fixing this. That's what chronic means, really. We're not going to fix this. We're not going to fix this. So it's hard, but it can be done. And but you can do it another way. You can simply say, the phrase is, even though I have, and you name the problem, free of fear of heights, I deeply and completely accept myself, while tapping a point on one of the Chinese energy meridians. You tap on the points. That's what EFT is. It's affirmations combined with acupressure from China. So you're doing this. If you don't say that, if you say, even though I have this problem, you're not saying what the problem is. You're letting your inner self decide what problem is going to solve. Well, see, it's like that forest. Well, maybe this tree right here is your fear of heights. Well, EFT will cut that one down. You got all the thousands of others. One of the way you can do it is just say this problem. Your subconscious then decides which one you mean, and it will take the tallest tree and chop the top. It'll take another tree and chop them off. If you do this several times a day over 3 months, your forest really becomes very scanty. An interesting process to go through for cleaning up your mind. When I first started meditating many years ago, I realized early on, I've got a lot of junk rolling around in my head that's actually making my mind noisy. And if I want to be quiet during meditation, it will have more than just learning the breath techniques, but maybe I need to clean up this mess that's in my head. So I learned EFT and I used it on a lot of people, but I've used it on myself more than anything else. I still use it. If I don't know where my car keys are, I say to EFT. By the time I finish the process, I walk right up to it and pick them up every time. Your subconscious knows where the keys are. We just can't figure it out. So now I'm getting down to the end of my thought. In Hinduism, I learned this from a fellow named Yogani, which means teacher, which is not his name, obviously. He's online. This under the title of Advanced Yoga Practices. And he talked about what he calls samyama. We talked about this in church. So this is the rest of the information. And so he's talking about the samyama. What that is that the quiet is like a gateway into your subconscious. We go into the silence. It's a gateway. We go into the silence in this church and quite a few others. I was just talking to Assembly of God minister last summer. That's what they do. That's what the Quakers do. They go silent. And when you're in the silence, you're right on the edge of looking into your subconscious. If you have a phrase and you just whisper it to yourself subvocally, so much more powerful to do this sort of thing in your mind, not out loud. Believe it or not, it works. Say a word that represents something that's of your highest good, something you want to see happen, or just a change you want to see in yourself, like love or courage. And you whisper it, and you wait 15 seconds in silence. No thoughts. Leave them alone. Don't let the thoughts in. You want to be silent. You want to just say the word and whisper it. And that just kind of floats over the edge and into your subconscious. It sits there. And over a few months of doing this, you'll notice. You don't know why. Suddenly you're more loving. Suddenly you have more courage. Suddenly the things that you're naming in your samyama practice are coming true, are coming into your life. So this is a way of doing affirmations. In this church, we believe in doing affirmations. And so that is the information I had for today. And I have a song I want to sing to you. And we're going to have a little meditation right now, some silent time. So everyone, before the song, so everyone take a moment and breathe. Why do we breathe? Well, besides we don't want to die. But we breathe in meditation because breath awareness really helps to quiet the mind. So breathe deeply. Smile. Smiling helps. Sit up straight. A straight spine helps. And I whisper the word love in your mind. And go back to the silence. Love. Now whisper this word. Gratitude. No. Look at this one. Friendship. Success. Surrender to God.